SCHD is a boomer trap. In 2026, if you're under 40 and you're loading your whole portfolio into it, you're not building wealth. You bought a detour, and every quarter you stay on it, you drift a little further from the finish line, not closer.
Okay, where is this coming from? You've recommended SCHD on this show more than once.
I have, and I'm not walking that back because I'm embarrassed. I'm walking it back because I actually sat down and did the math this time, instead of repeating what every finance forum on the internet repeats. So, change my mind. That's the episode. Come at me.
That's a bold way to open a show.
Here's the thing nobody says out loud. SCHD, JEPI, all these high-yield dividend ETFs, they got marketed to an entire generation of guys in their 30s and 40s as the safe, boring path to F.I.R.E. Buy the blue chips, collect the check, retire early. And that pitch works because it feels responsible. It feels like something your grandfather would nod at.
Right, but isn't that the point? Boring and proven?
Boring, sure. Proven? That's the part I want to pull apart today. Because every single time SCHD pays you that dividend, the stock price drops by that exact amount, same morning, dollar for dollar. So that deposit that shows up and feels like the company handing you something extra.
Slowly, as it's sinking in, it's not extra. It's just your own money moved.
Your own money, wearing a different label. And that's just the mechanic underneath it. We haven't even gotten to what it's costing you in taxes or what it's costing you in decades of compounding you're never going to get back.
Okay, I need you to actually prove that, not just say it.
We're going to, step by step. This isn't a SCHD is garbage, burn it down video. Some of what it does well. This is a you were sold a story and the story left out the part where it costs you video.
Flat bracing herself. This is Talk and Wonder. I'm Lynn.
I'm Frank, and most weeks we're the show that makes the boring financial stuff make sense without the panic. Today, we're the show where I go back and check my own math out loud in front of everyone. Nothing here is financial advice. We're not licensed for that. Talk to someone who is before you touch your portfolio. But the mechanics we're walking through, those aren't opinions. Those are just how the thing actually works.
Flat. Prove it.
Okay, so let's actually define what a dividend is, mechanically, because I think that's where the whole illusion starts. When a company makes a profit, they've got choices. They can reinvest it into the business, buy back shares, sit on it as cash, or hand some of it out to shareholders. That handout, that's the dividend.
Right, that part I know. You own a piece of the company does well, you get a slice.
Exactly. And that part's real. That's not the illusion. Here's where it gets weird. The moment that dividend gets paid out, the company's value just dropped by that exact amount because that cash used to be sitting inside the company, counted in the share price, and now it's sitting in your account instead.
So the pie didn't get bigger, a slice just moved from one plate to the other.
That's it exactly. Same pie. And that's why, on what's called the ex-dividend date, the stock opens that morning trading lower by roughly the dividend amount. It's not the market panicking, it's not bad news, it's just arithmetic. The value left the company and showed up in your account.
Okay, but people still call this passive income, like constantly. That's the whole pitch.
It is the whole pitch. And look, I get why. It feels like income. It shows up on a schedule. It's predictable. There's something almost comforting about watching a number hit your account every quarter, like a little paycheck from money you already had. But comforting isn't the same as free.
So when I've got DRIP turned on, dividend reinvestment, and it's automatically buying more shares for me?
You're taking the money that already left the company and using it to buy back a tiny piece of that same company at whatever the new lower price is, which, to be fair, isn't a bad thing to do. Reinvesting is smart, but it's not this magic wealth generation engine people talk about. It's just you buying more of something using money that was already yours.
So the $10,000 a year passive income from dividends that everyone posts about on Reddit
isn't $10,000 of new money showing up in the world. It's $10,000 that used to be inside the company's value, now sitting outside it in a brokerage account. Same total pile, just repositioned.
Okay, I need to sit with that for a second because that's not how it's ever explained. Every single finance guy on YouTube talks about dividends like they're a bonus, like the company's doing you a favor.
It's not a favor. It's not a trick either, to be clear. It's just neutral. It's your money in a different form on a schedule you didn't fully choose. And that schedule you didn't fully choose part, that's actually where the real cost shows up. Because every time that money gets pushed out of the company and into your account, whether you wanted it that year or not, the government notices.
Here it comes.
Okay, so here's the part that actually costs people real money, and almost nobody explains it right. Let's say you're not retired, you're 35, you've got a taxable brokerage account, and you're holding SCHD.
Right, the account that isn't a Roth, isn't a 401k, just a regular investing account.
Exactly. Every quarter, SCHD pays out a dividend into that account, and the second it lands, that's a taxable event. Doesn't matter if you needed the money, doesn't matter if you were planning to just leave it invested for the next 20 years. The IRS doesn't ask what your plan was. They just see income and they tax it that year.
Okay, but it's a qualified dividend, right? Isn't that taxed at the lower capital gains rate, not regular income?
It is, and that's actually one of the few things SCHD does get right. Qualified dividends do get the better rate. But, and here's the part that matters, you're still paying tax now on money you didn't ask to receive now. You had zero say in the timing.
Okay, compare that to what, though? What's the alternative?
A growth-oriented fund, something like VOO that pays little or no dividend and just grows. If a company inside that fund makes a profit and reinvests it instead of paying it out, the value builds up inside the share price, and you don't owe the IRS a single dollar on that growth. Not this year, not next year, not for however many years you hold it.
Carefully. Until you sell.
Until you sell. That's the whole game. It's called a tax timing option. You get to choose the year you trigger the tax. Maybe that's the year you retire and you're in a lower bracket. Maybe it's a year you have a rough income year anyway. You control it. With SCHD, the fund controls it. Every quarter, whether it's convenient for you or not.
So it's not that dividends are taxed unfairly.
No, it's that you lose the choice, and losing the choice has a real dollar cost because that tax bill comes out of your account today instead of staying invested and compounding for another 10, 15, 20 years.
Wait, Frank, hold on. Are you telling me that every single quarter for years I've been voluntarily pulling money out of my own compounding and paying the government to do it? And I thought that was the smart, responsible thing to do?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Okay, I need a second with that one.
Take your second, because it gets worse before it gets better. We haven't even touched what this does over 30 years of compounding yet. So let's put an actual number on it, because compounding is one of those words that sounds nice in theory and means nothing until you see it play out.
Please, numbers. I need something concrete right now.
Take two people, same starting amount, same 30-year timeline, same market conditions. One holds SCHD in a taxable account, collects the dividend every quarter, pays the tax bill each time, and reinvests what's left. The other holds a growth-oriented fund, pays zero tax along the way, and only settles up with the IRS the day they actually sell.
Okay.
Historically, going back decades, a total return approach, one that includes reinvested dividends and growth together, has outpaced dividend-focused strategies on average. Not every single year. Some years, dividend stocks win, especially rough ones. But stretched over 30 years, the growth-oriented account comes out ahead, and a real chunk of that gap is just the tax drag, money getting pulled out and taxed every quarter instead of staying in the game.
So it's not that SCHD is a bad fund.
It's not. And I want to be really clear about that because I don't want this to turn into burn the boring ETF. SCHD screens for real things, companies that have paid dividends for at least 10 straight years, decent cash flow relative to debt, solid return on equity. That filtering process eliminates a lot of the garbage, the companies faking growth for a year or two and then collapsing.
So the fund is doing what it says. The problem is what people think it's doing.
Exactly that. The fund is a quality screen for stable, profitable companies. That's a legitimate thing. What it is not is a shortcut to retiring at 50 with a taxable account throwing off passive income you don't have to think about. That version of the story, the one that gets repeated on every finance channel, including apparently ours, skips the part where the mechanism itself is working against you if you're still decades from needing the money.
Which, okay, that's a pretty different person than a 32-year-old on Reddit posting about F.I.R.E.
Very different person. And that's the actual problem. Not the fund, the audience it got sold to.
Okay, I've let you run for a while, so now I actually want to push back on something.
Go for it.
You keep talking about this like everyone's 32 and 30 years from retirement. But what about the people who are actually close? 60, 62, sitting on a portfolio, and they don't want to be selling shares every month just to pay their bills.
That's fair. That's actually a real point.
Because if you're living off a growth fund, you have to sell something every single time you need cash. And selling means you're at the mercy of whatever the market's doing that week. Market's down 20% the month you need groceries money? Too bad, you're selling low.
Right. That's sequence of returns risk, and it's a real thing. It's not a small thing. Dividends solve a real problem there. You get a check on a schedule, and you're not forced to sell a single share to generate it, even if the market's having a terrible month.
So there is a version of this where dividends aren't a trap. They're just the right tool for the right job.
Yeah, I think that's actually the honest version of this. The tax timing disadvantage I've been talking about this whole episode, that matters most when you're decades away from needing the money, because that's when the lost compounding has the most time to actually compound. Once you're near or in retirement, that math changes. You're not trying to grow the pile anymore, you're trying to draw from it without wrecking it.
So I wasn't completely off base.
You weren't off base at all on that specific point. Where I think people get it wrong is applying the retirement playbook 30 years before they're retired. It's like wearing a life jacket in your living room, not because life jackets are bad, because you're not near water yet.
That's a weird visual, but I get it.
And there's a middle version, too, that almost nobody talks about. You don't have to pick one team forever. You can run growth-focused funds through your 30s and 40s when the tax drag costs you the most, and then start shifting toward dividend-paying holdings as you actually approach the point where you need predictable cash. The strategy's allowed to change as your life changes.
Okay, so it's not SCHD bad, it's SCHD at the wrong time for the wrong reason.
That's the whole episode right there. Okay, so if you're sitting there thinking, great, now what do I actually do with this? Here's how I'd think about it, roughly, by stage.
Finally, the part people actually came for.
If you're in your 20s or 30s and you're decades from needing this money, lean growth. Total market index funds, broad growth ETFs, whatever keeps the tax drag as close to zero while you're still in the accumulation phase. Let the compounding run without the IRS taking a bite every quarter.
And if you've already got SCHD sitting in there from, past advice you've received?
From certain finance shows, hypothetically?
Hypothetically.
You don't have to panic sell it. Selling triggers its own tax event, so that's not automatically the smart move either. But going forward, you might just direct new contributions toward growth instead of adding more.
And for the people actually near retirement, the ones I was fighting for earlier?
That's where dividend-paying holdings, SCHD included, actually make sense. Once you're within, say, 5 to 10 years of needing to draw income, shifting some of the portfolio toward predictable dividend-paying assets isn't a mistake. It's just timing the tool to the job.
So the actual takeaway isn't dividends bad. It's know which decade of your life you're in before you copy someone else's strategy.
That's it, exactly. And if you're in a Roth account, by the way, a lot of this tax conversation doesn't even apply the same way. Dividends inside a Roth grow tax-free regardless. This whole episode is really about taxable brokerage accounts specifically.
Good distinction.
Look, none of this is financial advice. We're not licensed. We don't know your specific situation, your tax bracket, your timeline. Talk to an actual advisor before you restructure anything based on a couple people arguing about ETFs on the internet.
But if this changed how you think about that dividend check hitting your account every quarter?
Then it did its job. This has been Talk and Wonder. I'm Frank.
I'm Lynn. Subscribe if you want more of the stuff finance influencers don't say out loud. including, apparently, us from a few months ago.
Fair. We'll see you next week.